Every platform you use has version history. Zapier added version rollback. Make has version history going back 60 days. N8N has full get-backed source control on business and enterprise plans. So you're covered, right? If something breaks in production at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday while your client's CRM sync is firing, you just roll back. 60 seconds. Done. Except, when's the last time you actually did it? Not read about it, not bookmarked the help doc, actually restored a prior version of a live workflow under pressure. I asked this in 3 different automation communities last month. 80-something replies. 2 people had ever practiced a rollback before they needed one. 2. Everyone else said some version of, I'd figure it out. And here's the contradiction. These same platforms that give you version history, they each have a catch that will bite you in the middle of an incident if you haven't rehearsed. Makes history only saves versions you manually saved. Miss that step and your last restore point is 3 weeks old. Zapier's app version policy changed in February 2026, and now major version jumps are blocked entirely. And N8N's pull operation briefly unpublishes your workflows in production, while your client's data is flowing. Version history is not a rollback plan. A rollback plan is a rollback plan. And today, you're getting one. If you're running client automations across Make, Zapier, or N8N, and you don't have a practiced, timed rollback procedure, not a bookmark, not a vague plan, a procedure you've actually run, then every deploy you ship is a bet that nothing will go wrong. And when something does go wrong, your recovery time is whatever it takes you to panic read documentation while your client's workflows are down. This is Headcount Zero. I'm Jordan. Today I'm giving you semantic versioning for no-code workflows, get-backed exports that work even on free tiers, and a 60-second rollback drill for each platform that you're going to practice before you need it. 3 months ago, I pushed a mapping change to a Make scenario that syncs HubSpot contacts to a client's Airtable CRM. Simple change, added a phone number field. Took roughly 4 minutes to build and test. I published it at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. By 11:45, the client's ops manager is pinging me. Every contact synced in the last 45 minutes had the phone number in the email field and the email in the phone number field. 45 minutes of corrupted records flowing into their sales team's call queue. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'll just roll back. Make has version history. I've seen the button. So I open the scenario, go to history, click version history, and the last saved version is from 9 days ago. 9 days. Because I had been making incremental tweaks all week and never manually saved a named version. Make's version history only captures versions you explicitly save. The autosave that happens when you close the editor? That's scenario recovery. It's for browser crashes, not rollbacks. I fixed the mapping in about 3 minutes. But the 45 minutes of bad data? That took the client's team 2 hours to clean up, and I ate that cost. Because I should have. That's the gap. The tools give you version history, but version history without discipline is a safety net with holes in it. You don't find the holes until you're falling. So here's what I changed after that incident and what I want you to set up this week. 3 layers: semantic versioning, get-backed exports, and a practice drill. Semantic versioning first. You've probably seen version numbers on software, v2.3.7, that kind of thing. The convention is called semver, and it works just as well for no-code workflows as it does for code. The system is simple. 3 numbers separated by dots. Major dot, minor dot, patch. Bump the major number when you make a breaking change. You're changing the data shape, swapping a trigger, anything that could break downstream systems. Bump minor when you add something backwards compatible, a new branch behind a toggle, an optional field. Bump patch for fixes and refactors that don't change what goes in or comes out. For my practice, I tag every client automation. So that HubSpot sync scenario, it was v1.4.1 when it was working. My phone number change should have been v1.5.0, a minor bump, new field, backwards compatible in theory. Instead, I just pushed it. No version, no tag. No record of what v1.4.1 even looked like. The quick key I keep in my Notion workspace, and you can copy this, is just 3 words. Major equals breaks, minor equals adds, patch equals fixes. That's it. If you can answer, does this change break, add, or fix, you know which number to bump. Now, the versioning only matters if you have something to version against. That's where Git comes in. And I know what you're thinking. I'm a no-code builder. I don't use Git. You don't have to be a developer to use Git for this. You need exactly 2 operations, commit and tag. You're saving a JSON file and labeling it. That's the whole workflow. Every time you deploy a change, you export the workflow JSON. Make calls it a blueprint, N8N gives you a JSON export, Zapier manages versions internally, and you commit that file to a Git repository with a tag matching your semver number. Now you have an auditable, time-stamped, labeled history of every version of every client automation you've ever shipped, and you can restore any of them by importing the tag JSON. The third piece is the changelog, and this is the one that saves you at 2 a.m. A Notion database, or Airtable, whatever you run, with 6 fields: date, semver tag, platform, Zapier, Make, or N8N, the workflow or scenario ID, what changed and why, and the rollback target, the tag or version label you'd restore to if this deploy goes wrong. You fill this out before you publish. Takes roughly 90 seconds. And when something breaks, you don't have to think. You look at the log, find the last good version, and execute the drill. Which brings us to the drills. Platform by platform. I timed each of these with a stopwatch, and I want you to do the same. Zapier first. Zapier's version rollback is available on professional, team, and company plans. The most recent documentation confirming plan eligibility is from October 2025. So if you're on a newer plan tier, verify in your workspace before you rely on this. Open the Zap in the editor. In the left panel, you'll see a clock icon. That's versions. Click it, and you get a list of every published version with timestamps. Find the last known good version, select it, and hit Create Draft from Version. That gives you a draft based on the old configuration. Run a test on at least one non-destructive step, a formatter step, a lookup, something that won't write data, to confirm the mappings still resolve. Then publish the draft. That's it. 4 steps. I timed it at 42 seconds on a Zap with 11 steps. One important nuance here. Zapier's version rollback governs your Zap's structure, the steps, the mappings, the filters. But in February 2026, Zapier started blocking migrations across Semantic major app versions in their platform tooling. So if a third-party app in your Zap pushed a major version update, say their API went from V1 to V2, and your Zap auto-upgraded, rolling back the Zap version might not roll back the app version. Those are separate systems. If you hit that, you'll need to pin or revert the app version per that app's documentation. Just know the distinction exists before you need it. Make. Open your scenario, go to History, then Version History. You'll see a list of previously saved versions, and this is the critical word, saved. Make retains these for up to 60 days, but only versions you explicitly saved. If you've been editing and closing without saving named versions, your restore points might be sparse. Pick the last good version, hit Restore, then save the scenario. Run it once manually with a safe test input, something that won't trigger real writes, and confirm your critical mappings resolve. If the version you need isn't in the history, maybe it's older than 60 days, maybe you never saved it, that's where your Git-backed blueprint comes in. Go to Scenarios, create a new scenario, and import the blueprint JSON from your tagged Git commit. Paste the JSON, reauthorize any connections it prompts you for, save, run a test, and then swap your scheduling from the broken scenario to the restored one. I timed the version history path at 38 seconds. The blueprint import path takes longer, roughly 90 seconds including the connection reauth, but it works even when native history doesn't. And here's a pattern I want to flag for Make users specifically. Make doesn't have a formal multi-environment promotion flow. There's no built-in dev to staging to production pipeline in the docs. But there's a feature called dynamic connections that practitioners use as an environment toggle. You set up sandbox credentials and production credentials for the same service, and dynamic connections lets you swap between them without duplicating the entire scenario. So you can test a change against sandbox data, confirm it works, then flip to production credentials and publish. It's not an official environment system. It's a practitioner pattern built on a real feature. But it's the closest thing Make gives you to a safe deploy workflow, and I use it on every client scenario. N8N. Two paths here depending on your plan. If you're on business or enterprise, you have source control built in, and it's genuinely good. The recommended pattern is one-directional. You push from your development instance to a Git repository, and your production instance pulls from that repo. N8N's docs are explicit about this. Don't push and pull on the same instance. Keep the flow clean. For rollbacks, the move is to reset your deploy branch to the last known good Git tag. One command, git push origin, then your version tag, :deploy. That points your production branch at the exact tag state you want. Then in N8N, go to Projects, Source Control, Pull. The instance pulls the tagged workflows and republishes them. Now, and this matters, pulling changes in N8N briefly unpublishes and republishes the affected workflows. The docs confirm this. It's a few seconds of downtime. For most automations, that's fine. But if you're running something time-sensitive, a webhook that processes payments, a trigger that catches form submissions, you want to schedule your rollback outside peak hours if you can. And if you can't, at least know the gap exists so you're not surprised when a webhook fires during the republish window and gets a 404. What gets committed to Git from N8N is worth knowing too. Workflow JSON with tags and owner email. Credential stubs, not the actual secrets, just the structure. Variable stubs, data table schemas, projects and folders. Row data does not sync. So your Git repo is a structural snapshot, not a data backup. That's the right boundary. If you're on N8N Community Edition, no source control feature, but you're not stuck. The CLI gives you export and import commands. N8N export :workflow --all exports every workflow as JSON. N8N import :workflow --input followed by the file path imports it back. You can script this into a cron job that exports and commits to Git on a schedule. And there's actually an open source tool called N8N GitOps on PyPI that wraps this into a proper GitOps workflow. Versioning, review, reproducible deploys. It exists because enough Community Edition users needed exactly this. And one more thing on N8N specifically. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity published an advisory earlier this year, AL 26-001, covering multiple N8N vulnerabilities. CVE 2026-21858 and 21877. Chained together, they allowed remote code execution on versions before 1.121.0. That's not theoretical. That's a national security agency saying, patch this now. And patching means upgrading your N8N instance, which means you need a tested rollback path in case the upgrade itself breaks something. The drill isn't just for bad deploys. It's for security upgrades that go sideways. Now, I can hear the objection. Jordan, I use Zapier. Zapier has version rollback built in. Why do I need Git and semantic versioning on top of that? Fair question. And honestly, if you're running 3 zaps for one client and nothing mission critical, native versioning might be enough. I'm not going to tell you to over-engineer a simple setup. But here's where it breaks down. You're not running 3 zaps for one client. You're running 12 zaps across 4 clients, plus 6 make scenarios and an N8N instance. Each platform has different versioning behavior, different retention windows, different gotchas. Make's history requires manual saves. Zapier's history doesn't cover app-level version changes. N8N's pull causes brief downtime. When you're in the middle of an incident, client pinging you, data flowing wrong, clock ticking, you do not want to be remembering which platform you're on and what its specific rollback path is. You want one procedure. Open the changelog, find the last good version, execute the drill for that platform. 60 seconds. The Git layer and the semver tags give you that consistency. One repo, one tagging convention, one log. 3 platforms, same recovery muscle memory. That's the argument. Not that native versioning is bad, it's that native versioning alone doesn't scale across a real solo practice with multiple tools and multiple clients. So, remember the contradiction from the top? Every platform has version history, and every platform's version history has a gap that'll cost you time, money, or a client relationship if you discover it during an actual incident. The fix is not more tools. It's not a fancier platform. It's 90 seconds of discipline before every deploy. Tag the version, export the JSON, log the change, and one drill you've practiced enough that your hands know the path before your brain catches up. I put together the 60-second drill pack. It's on the resources page. 3 platform-specific runbooks, the Semver quick key, copy-paste git tag commands, and the Notion changelog template with every field pre-built. Print it. Laminate it if you're that person. Tape it next to your monitor. Whatever gets it within arm's reach when things go wrong. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one client automation, your most important one. Version tag it right now. Export the JSON, commit it, then restore it. Time yourself. If you can do it in under 60 seconds, you're ready. If you can't, you just found the gap before your client did. That's the whole point of the drill. You practice the recovery so the recovery becomes boring. And boring recovery is the best kind. I'm Jordan. This is Headcount Zero. Ship it solo.